Hello, welcome back to another new session of my channel, English Made Easy. Today's session is a continuation of the previous one on direct and indirect speeches. In today's class, we will learn about conversion of a sentence from direct to indirect speech of all the interrogative, imperative and exclamatory sentences. Are you all ready?
In today's session, we shall learn about direct and indirect speech of interrogative sentences. In the previous session, we have learnt about declarative sentences. So now we will learn about interrogative, imperative and exclamatory sentences. What is an interrogative sentence? An interrogative sentence is a question. Let's see an example here. David said to me, "How are you?" It's a question, indirect speech. This how we will change into indirect speech. David asked me how I was. Notice the change. Notice the changes occurred here. Now let's see the rules for changing the sentences from direct to indirect speech. Rules for changing an interrogative sentence from direct speech to indirect speech. The first and foremost for any sentence is to remove the quotes. The first one is to remove the quotes. Then remove the question mark and place a full stop at the end. Then it will become an assertive sentence. So when you change an interrogative sentence from direct to indirect speech, you have to remove the question mark, remove the quotes and place a full stop at the end of the sentence. Then it will become an assertive or declarative sentence. That is the second rule to be incorporated. Next one. Instead of said, asked, questioned or inquired are used to join the sentences. Previously we have used that or said, but now we have to use in such cases we have to use asked, questioned or inquired. Next one. The WH word itself acts as a conjunction. The question starts with the WH word. Notice the above example here. How are you? How is the WH word? Since how is the WH word, the question is starting with the WH word, that how only will act as an conjunction here. Instead of adding any new word, we use how itself as a conjunction here. So you need not add any other words here. The question starts with an auxiliary or modal verbs, then if or whether is used. Now see, in the above example we have seen how are you is a WH word. The question is starting with a WH word. So we use the same WH word as a conjunction. But in case the question starts with any auxiliary verbs, like or modal verbs which we learned earlier, like can or shall or could or whatever it is, then we use if and whether. We'll discuss all these in detail in the as we go on. Now, these are the basic rules of changing an interrogative sentence from direct to indirect speech. Okay, let's go through some more examples here. The girl asked, "Where do you live?" The first and foremost rule we have learned is to remove the quotes, then remove the question mark. Now asked will become inquired because the girl is inquiring about something. That's why we use the girl inquired where I lived. See, observe very carefully. WH is, where is the WH word? So we have used where as a conjunction. Now you we have changed to I and lived is the past form. The tenses, the rule for tenses remains the same as in the previous ones only. We have learned, remember previously, that we have learned some rules. Simple present will change to simple past, present continuous will change to past continuous. Such rules only will be applied here also, except for the change in the conjunction. So here just check once. The girl inquired where I lived. One more important thing that is to be noticed here is always after the WH word, the subject will come. That should be remembered very carefully. Always after the WH word, the subject will come. What is the subject here? You. It will change in person, so it will become I. So the answer for this will be the girl inquired where I lived. So this interrogative sentence has become an assertive sentence now when it is changed to indirect speech. Next example. He said to me, "What are you doing?" So again it's a question. He asked me what is a conjunction. What I was doing. So are will become was here. Are is a present tense form helping verb. Was is a past tense form. The tenses rule for changing tenses remains the same as it is the previous one. That should be observed very carefully. Next example. They said to me, where have you gone? They asked me where I had gone. See, have will change to had. They asked me where I had gone. That is the answer for this example here. Next example. He said to her, how will you help me? This is a question here. He asked her how she would help him. He said to her, how will you help me? So the answer is, he asked her how she would help him. Should not get confused in the subject and the objects here. So just observe carefully and write the answers. He asked her how she would help him. The next example is, the student said, how can I buy this book? It's a question here again. The WH word is here. The student asked how he could buy that book. See again the rule applied previously. I told you the modal verbs can will change to could, shall will change to should. So same thing is applicable here also. The student asked how. How is again the WH word. After how you have the subject and can will change to could. Buy that book. This book will become that book. This also we have learnt in the previous session. There is a change in time and place. So this will change to that. All the changes you have to observe properly. The student asked, said will be replaced by asked. How will be as it is. I will be changed to he and can will be changed to could, and this is changed to that. So finally the answer is, the student asked how he could buy that book. Let's go to one more example here. She said, why are you begging all the time here? Again it's a question mark interrogative sentence. She asked the beggar. Why is a conjunction here, is used as a conjunction here, and the subject is he. Are will become was, begging all the time there. Here will become there. It should be noticed properly. So the answer is, she asked the beggar why he was begging all the time there. Next one. He asked her, how is the weather? He asked her how the weather was. So it will become was, and the WH word is followed by the subject. So all these changes you have to notice properly. The first and foremost is remove the quotes, remove the question mark, and the WH word itself acts as a conjunction. The tenses changes remains as it is, and always the WH word should be followed by the subject. These are the rules for changing a sentence from direct to indirect speech of all the interrogative sentences starting with WH word. Now we have some more interrogative sentences starting with auxiliary verbs or helping verbs. Let's go through those examples and see what rules should be implemented to change these sentences. Interrogative sentences starting with modal or auxiliary verbs. Then if or whether is used. Instead of the WH word previously, we used the word if or whether. Notice it properly. He said to me, will you help me? It's a question. He asked me if I would help him. See, the only change is asked. Instead of said, we have used asked me if I would help him. Again the changes observed here is remove the quotes, remove the question mark. Instead of will you help me, you use the words if or whether. If I would help him, again will is changed to would. That should be observed properly. And one more thing, in place of if, you can use whether also. He asked me whether I would help him. You can either use if or whether. It is your choice, and there is no hard and fast rule that only if you should be used or only whether should be used. Anything can be used. It's up to you only. Next one. He said to me, can I use your phone? See, can is a modal verb here. He asked me whether she could use my phone. She asked me whether she could use my phone. So can is changed to could here. Okay. Next question. Next example. He said to me, did you meet your friend? See, did is the past form of the verb do. So it is in past, simple past form. Let's see how it is changed. he asked me if I had met my friend. So we have learned previously, simple past form is changed to past perfect form in the indirect speech. So same thing is implemented here. The answer is, he asked me if I had met my friend. Next one, they asked me, have you gone to London? The answer would be, they questioned me if I had gone to London. So this is the answer here. One more example. He said to me, did you meet your friend? He asked me if I had met my friend. So if, as it is, we will use if. Did is a past form, simple past form. So we have changed into past perfect form. Had we have used met my friend. The last example is, she said, are they waiting for me? The answer would be, she asked whether they were waiting for her. So see, observe the changes properly. She asked whether they were waiting for her. So are will change to were, and whether you have used and waiting for her as it is. So all these changes should be incorporated properly when you change a sentence from direct to indirect speech. So every single punctuation mark and every word is very, very important when you change a sentence from direct to indirect speech, because a punctuation mark itself changes a complete sentence. You know, a full stop will change a sentence, because a full stop denotes a declarative sentence or an imperative sentence. So a full stop is also very important. So we should use all these things properly and learn them properly and use them when you write properly when you are writing. Now let's come to imperative sentences. We have just now till now we have learnt about interrogative sentences, words starting with WH words and words starting with the questions starting with the modal verbs. Now we will learn about imperative sentences. What are imperative sentences? Just let's see them. Direct and indirect speech imperative sentences. What are imperative sentences? Imperative sentences tell about given order, command or a request. So let's now see how to change a sentence, an imperative sentence, from direct to indirect speech and what changes should be incorporated. Let's see all those things. To change an imperative sentence from direct speech to indirect speech, as it is, as usual, remove the quotes and use the words suggested, ordered, requested or commanded in place of said or told. This is the change which have to be observed. The teacher told her, go away. So what is it? The teacher generally orders. So the teacher ordered her to go away. He said to her, please wait. He requested her to wait. So you don't use the word please again here. Please itself means that it's a request. So you say the sentence as he requested her to wait. The next example is, the policeman said, do not walk alone here. The policeman suggested not to walk alone there. Here will become there. So it's a suggestion given by the policeman. So the word suggested is used here. The policeman suggested not to walk alone there. One more example we will see. The teacher said to the students, do not take the exam lightly. So this is an imperative sentence. What is it? Is it an advice or a suggestion or a command or a request? It's an advice or a suggestion also you can say. So let's for this sake we will use as advised. The teacher advised the students not to take the exam lightly. So the answer would be, the teacher advised the students not to take the exam lightly. So this is how we change all the imperative sentences. We use it's a command or an order or a request or a suggestion or an advice. So all these words you will incorporate in the sentence, remove the quotes as it is and do all the changes. So this is about the imperative sentences. Now the last one is the exclamatory sentences. Let's see about the exclamatory sentences. Direct and indirect speech of exclamatory sentences. First of all, what is an exclamatory sentence? An exclamatory sentence expresses an exclamation of joy or sorrow or sadness or regret or pain. That is an exclamatory sentence. And in that you have some exclamatory words. There are some words which you'll use in sentences to express all these actions, either joy or sorrow or regret or pain or happiness. So let's see the changes to be observed here. When we change an exclamatory sentence from direct to indirect speech, then the exclamatory word is replaced by exclaimed with joy, exclaimed with sorrow, or exclaimed with regret, or exclaimed with surprise, or exclaimed with excitement. So such words should be introduced in the indirect speech sentence depending on the type of sentence. Suppose it's a happy sentence, we say exclaimed with joy. Suppose it's a sad exclamation, then we say exclaimed with sorrow. Suppose it's very exciting, we say exclaimed with excitement. So let's see the examples here. Generally, what is a exclamatory sentence? Suppose we see the example here. Hooray, we have won the match. Just see the sentence here. Hooray is the exclamatory word expressing joy, happiness, excitement. Generally, it's happiness. So, how we will change the sentence to indirect speech sentence? The boy exclaimed with joy that they had won the match. Again, you observe the change in tenses. We have won the match changes to had won the match. So, the change would be the boy exclaimed with joy that they had won the match. And remember that these exclamatory words are not there in the indirect speech sentence. We should not use these exclamatory words. Let's go to one more example. The old man said, "Alas, I have lost my purse." Alas is a word expressing sorrow or unhappiness. So you can just say that the old man exclaimed with sorrow that he had lost his purse. Again, had lost. Should be just observe, notice that. Next one is, the child said, "What a beautiful sight." Though what is a interrogatory sentence word? It's a WH word. Here it is the sentence is a complete sentence, is an exclamatory sentence because we have used an exclamatory mark at the end of the sentence. It's not a interrogative sentence, it is an exclamatory sentence. So let's see how we will change it. The child exclaimed with delight that it was a very beautiful sight. Okay, that is the answer here. The last one. The student said how difficult the problem is. The student exclaimed with disappointment that the problem was difficult. Remember here again was will come here. So when we change a sentence from direct to indirect speech of all exclamatory sentence, we should see that again the first rule as it is, remove the quotes and the exclamatory words should be used. The exclamatory words should not be used. In place of those, we use exclaimed with joy or sorrow or regret or pain or excitement or delight. All these words we will use. And again, it should not use the exclamatory mark also in the indirect speech sentence. So these are all about the exclamatory sentences. So in today's session, we have learnt about interrogative sentences starting with WH words, how they should be changed. And we have also learnt about interrogative sentence starting with auxiliary verbs. And then we have learnt about imperative sentences. Then we have learnt about exclamatory sentences. We have learnt about all these sentences conversion from direct to indirect speech. So our entire session about direct and indirect speeches is completed. Hope all of you have understood it very clearly. Just go through the video once or twice if you're not thorough with it. Go through it once or twice and understand it properly because it's very important for any type of examination, any competitive examination or any type of examination. Hope all of you have enjoyed the video and liked the video and understood it thoroughly. Happy learning. Have a nice time.